Oh, you'll clean the table if you want to save it.
Well, I was assuming that everyone is through with their meal. Everyone's been served. Ed and Rob, you might just close those doors. That might help some of the background noise from the people on the back table. One thing that I have forgot to mention before is that Marie McGee is here, the newest author of a book on Millersburg glass. And if those of you that haven't been able to get into Marie's room and find her there, Marie is, she's so quiet, she goes out, she doesn't really get to say much. So she gets out and gets to talking, she forgets that she has books for sale in her room. But anyway, what is your room number, Marie?
It's 218, but I only have 2 hardbacks left and a few paperbacks, so I have been in that room.
Oh. So she's in 218 if you'd like to get a copy of her book on Millersburg glass. A very good book, and I'm sure that you would all enjoy it as a reference book. So go see Marie, and I'm sure that she'll be glad to tell you about the book and sell you one. We are here a couple of 3 years ago. We had a suggestion that we should honor John and Lucille Britt in some way. And 2 years ago, we initiated a honor to them. We issued them a vase, and at that time we had several vases made of the same vase, but it is inscribed with their name on it, and we thought that in order to continue that honor, we would each year in their name we would honor an outstanding Carnival collector that has contributed greatly to this hobby. And those of us that have been in this hobby for some time know that that there has been a tremendous increase in the interest, the number of the people in the hobby. There's been an increase in the monetary value of the glass, and it's only through the efforts of those people that we honor that this has been able to do that. Also, the efforts that have been put forth and the interest that they have shown in promoting and encouraging other members. And this is a hobby that I like to continue to say that we are dealing in a product that nobody needs. So it's up to us to promote our hobby and our interest in our collecting hobby for our own benefit. So on this day we have chosen to honor a person, Carl and Ferne Schroeder. As you know, those of you know what a Schroeder valve is. You know, that's what we used to call the inner tube valve. And you know, if you put a lot of pressure on the outside, then it's a spring-loaded device, and it will go in, and air will enter. But if you also take a little pin and push on it, air will come out. So you know that The name Schroeder fits Carl very well. In fact, he comes through every year, and on their way, at the Hoga Convention, they're usually on their way to Arkansas to visit Carl's sister. But this year, I think that he probably invited them to come up because he wanted to let everybody know, at least let them know, someone tell how important he is without him telling her all along how important he is. So he has invited them, and we would like to have Carl and Ferne's sister and in-laws, Garrett and Edwin Graff, stand. Garnet. We're glad to have you here, and really don't believe everything that you hear. But we have asked 4 Carnival the collectors, fellow collectors, to give us their interpretation of Carl and Ferne. We do want to say that we do like to have a little levity in this, but we also it is an honor, and we want to bestow on this couple. We do it in all seriousness with some levity thrown in it also. So at this time we will start with our presenters, and we'll ask Jim Seek first.
The first convention I went to, a lot of you know my partner Laverne and Susie White. They were really the ones that got me started in Carnival Glass, but they always talked about a couple up in Wisconsin that I always wanted to meet, and one of the first people I met in Carnival Glass was Carl and Ferne. And I think I'm a perfect example of why Carl and Ferne deserve to have this award. I went to the convention, and tell me if I'm wrong, was it the International or at Cedar Rapids, or was it in the Lincoln Land? I think it was Cedar Rapids International. Everywhere I went, I'd run into these people, and they would spend nothing but 15 or 20 minutes explaining it. You go here for this, you go here for that. You know, you go into each room, and all you got to do is ask questions. Everybody will answer your questions. They more or less structured me on how to go around at a convention. And every time I saw them, they would help me a little bit more. And if I had any questions, they'd answer them. And they were always very polite. I think they probably do that more than any collector that I know. They really, really strive to take care of the new collectors that show up, the people who are buying from the beginning glass to the expensive glass, who has never been to a convention before. They really strive to help. And I think a few years ago, Carl became the president of the ICGA, and of course at that time they had a little problem with an auction, and I was very happy that Carl gave me the opportunity to do the auction that year, and I've been doing it ever since, and I'm real happy to be doing it, and I'd like to thank them for that. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of their background. Jan and I consider Carl and Ferne almost adopted parents. I mean, we really, truly love them dearly. First about Ferne, most of you know Ferne about Carnival Glass and what she does with Carnival Glass, but what she does back home is just as amazing. Recently, they, in the little town of Kendall, which if you've never been there, is about the size of this room, they had their centennial. And when we were visiting them, they were constantly busy running, doing things. And I said, what are you doing? Well, she says, I'm the chairman of the committee for the centennial. Oh, that was really nice. And then she gets another phone call while we're sitting there. She says, well, that was for this other committee, which I'm the chair of that too. And more or less, she was the chair of just about every committee that was going on for the centennial. At the same time, Kendall was building a brand new church. She was the head of the committee of that. There was a decorating committee for the church, and I think she was the head of that too. So she's constantly out there working her charity work. She's also very, very much into charities and things like that. Also, if any of you ever heard of Governor Tommy Thompson, a little bit from her past, he learned everything he knows about politics from Ferne. Ferne was his secretary for several years. And those of you, I'm a big supporter, or I really would hope that Tommy Thompson someday runs for president. I hope he does anyway. I would be a big supporter of him. Now I'm going to talk to you about Carl. Carl is a very charitable man. He was also involved in almost every thing that Ferne was doing, in a little bit lesser way. But Carl has another favorite charity, and he's even got me involved in that one. Every time we come, Carl and I will take off and we'll go off to this charity, and it's called Ho Chunk Casino, south of the Dells. I haven't quite figured out how it works yet, but somehow we play cards and we donate, and they even give you a little back once in a while, but they always end up with all your money. But Carl and I tend to go over there a lot, and we tend to support them. Recently they had a problem with the parking lot, and they had to pay several million to buy about 3 acres of land to, I don't know, what was the amount? 31 million to buy like 4 acres of land for this parking lot. Carl has a reserved spot. They got a little plaque there. Carl paid for this spot. He may park here whenever he wishes. I really don't know what else to say about these two except for that I love them dearly. They are truly two of my best friends in Carnival Glass, and I don't know anybody who deserves this award more than they do. Carl, Ferne, thank you for all the stuff you've done for me, and I love you.
Whoops.
Thank you, Jim. Our next presenter will be the past president of the Texas Club and a very good friend of all the carnival collectors, Richard Sinclair.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate John and Lucille one more time for having this award named after them, because they truly have been pioneers and contributors to what we all love. And then secondly, I would like to recognize and congratulate one more time Cecil and Floyd as the winner last year of this award. And then I would like to congratulate Carl and Ferne, because they too have worked hard and have done the kind of yeoman work that it takes to run a club, put on a convention, and to promote Carnival. But before I talk about nice things, I'd like to talk about two surprises about Carl, none about Ferne. I was very impressed with the glass, of course, and the seminars, and the people from all of our United States. And when I met Carl, I just assumed that he was from some foreign country because he kept telling these Lena and Ole jokes. And so I just assumed that he was from Norway, and I didn't know any collectors from Norway. So that was my first surprise when I found that he was actually from Wisconsin. The second thing that I find very hard to believe is that he's leaving his kitten spittoon to Carol and I. It's good to have a sense of humor. I meant it. I would like to congratulate Carl and Ferne for the leadership that they have provided us in the carnival world. There are lots of good clubs. I encourage everybody to belong to the clubs, to participate in the conventions, because it's a learning experience. Carl has been an outstanding speaker. Both of them have supported the clubs. When I thought about what I wanted to say, I chose words rather than stories, really, because I think individual words can tell a story that are very descriptive. And so I would like to share those words with you. Words like warm, welcoming, energetic, dedicated, organized, leadership ability, open, knowledgeable, willing to share, generous, poor sense of humor. I guess we call them Aggie jokes, don't we, Floyd? But the last word is friends. Thank you.
Our next presenter is one of those that is a fairly newcomer and does like to tell John Mikkonen what glass he does have. So, our next presenter will be George Loescher.
Okay.
He suggested that I pin this on my lapel, and Richard suggested I pin it on my lips, so I keep quiet. And I'm having trouble doing both. Bob Gruesome called me a few weeks ago and asked me to say some nice things about Carl, and he said it. He told me to keep it short and say kind words. They were too impossible right from the start. First, I can't say things in a few words, and second, I can't think anything nice about Carl. I thought I'd have my wife do the speaking instead, but she does such a good job that every time she does do it, she usually gets a standing ovation, and I didn't want that to bother her. Especially today, just 2 days after the anniversary. Bob told me if I said anything bad about Carl, he would personally castrate me. And my wife said, he said, castrate you. So, I've known Carl for 22 years. And with that, I should just plain sit down. I can't think of anything too nice. All the good things have been said about him, and I've known him for all these years. Carl, as you probably know, or maybe you don't know, was a Ford dealer in Kendall, Wisconsin. He was a very good buyer. He knew what to buy, and so the stuff wouldn't sit around too long on floor plan. And when he sold his business a couple of years ago, that poor guy that bought it was still trying to get rid of Edsels and Pinnels. That's what he was doing. One thing, we get rid of the jokes about Carnival glass, is the friendship that, I like what Richard said, the one thing about Carl and a lot of us is that we're friends. A number of years ago, in fact, 19 years ago, July 10th, I'm sorry, my little daughter got a dog. And she loved that little dog, and she named that dog Shama. And anyway, she said to her mother one day, when I die and go to heaven, will Shama be there? And my wife told her, she said, if that's what it takes to make you happy, Shama will be there. Now, my point is this. Was it yesterday morning, I blessed, we were coming back from Mac's Supper Club, McDonald's over here, and I made a comment about Carnival glass and all the beautiful people that we have met over these last almost 30 years. In fact, we've been this convention since the day it started. And she made a comment to me afterwards, I don't think you'll probably find Carnival glass when you get to heaven, but a lot of the friendships that you made here on earth will still continue in eternity. And that was kind of nice, and I thought it was a very, very warm saying. I can't figure out my own notes, but I guess basically in closing, I've known Carl and Fern all these years, and all the things that Richard said about him are true. He might have stretched a few things. Jim, he's known him for a long time, and they are what they are. They're very good people to help you. They'll do anything in the world they can to help you. He can be a little frugal, except when it comes to whole chunk. If you call Carl, if he called him on, or he calls you on the phone, how are you, George? Oh, by the way, there's somebody at my door. I have to hang up. Could you call me back in 20 minutes? So you go to the phone in 20 minutes, you call him back, and an hour and a half later, you're still on the phone talking to Carl. But I think he's probably saving his money for a whole chunk, more than likely. The John Britt Award, I think, is truly a great award. John has done an awful lot for Carnival Glass. If ever to this day I need information, I need help, I can call John, and about any of us can. He doesn't necessarily give it to you right, but you do get information. I said, I've never seen anybody willing to help anybody before. Another man that I guess I truly love is Floyd. The honoree of last year is Floyd and Cecil, these folks, Floyd, Cecil, Whitley, especially Floyd. I get such a joy out of him. I told him, I says, when we go, we got to go together because I won't have anybody to laugh with after he's gone. So anyway, but the award that is being bestowed, in my opinion, on Carl and Ferne Schroeder this year is an award that they truly, truly deserve. I thank you.
Thank you, George. Our next presenter will be Tom Mordini.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Carl, Fern, John, Lucille, congratulations on your day again. Sharon asked me to express her regrets today that she can't be here because she would have liked to be here. We really think that Carl and Fern are really, really nice people. We have stopped at their home in Kendall a number of times when we pass through the area. We don't live too far from them, 130, 40 miles. And it's easy to get to. I was going to have a map here of the state of Wisconsin to show you folks where Kendall is. And we had a week before this thing to prepare, and we tried for a whole week, but we never did locate it. We know it's there because as you drive up Interstate 90, 94, there's an exit there that we know if we take that exit, we can make it to Kendall. It's a beautiful, if you've never been there, it's in the rolling hills of southern Wisconsin, south central Wisconsin. A beautiful, beautiful community with Amish buggies going up and down the hills. There's one hill there that's just tremendous. I'd love to have been a kid there to slide down that hill. It must be, I don't know how long it is, it must be 2 miles in length, but it's just a beautiful place. If you're ever in the Kendall area, stop, because I know that these folks will welcome you with open hands into their home. They're really super people. Oh, by the way, last Saturday, Sharon and I were up in that area. We didn't stop to visit Carl and Fern, but we did stop at the Ho Chunk Casino, which is just south of there, and I had no idea, how to get into this place. It's huge, and I stopped. There was a fellow on the road, and I said, where's the entrance? He says, right down there is Schroeder Boulevard. Just make a left turn. On a little more serious note, I promised Fern that I'd be gentle. She asked me to be gentle, so I will be. I do have something here to read to you that I have acquired in the last week or so. If you bear with me. I have some faxes here. I thought that we should include the people of Kendall, Wisconsin, besides Carl and Fern, in this little presentation, because we know how proud the people of Kendall are to claim these folks for themselves. They've lived there, I guess, all your lives, haven't you? Or almost? Okay. I have two letters here. The first one comes from the Farmers and Merchants Bank of Kendall. Kendall Hustler. What is Hustler? A suburb. Population of Kendall is 486, is that correct?
507.
507. Okay.
Christmas time, all the kids are home and everybody is around.
That's when you take the inventory? Okay. This is from the Farmers and Merchants Bank of Kendall Hustler. Dear Carl and Fern, we appreciate this opportunity to congratulate you on being honored with the John and Lucille Britt Award for Excellence in Carnival Class. You certainly have done your part to put the village of Kendall on the map. We feel the selection committee has made an excellent choice for this year's award. In looking back over the years, the bank has been very fortunate to have had your services. You each brought your very unique talents to our board of directors, and the bank has been much the better for it. We would be remiss if we did not make the Heart of America Carnival Glass Association aware of Carl's ability to keep us updated on the marital status or lack of the marital status for anybody in question in this community. He also was our resident expert in the area of who was living with whom and under what circumstances. This unique talent certainly made our board meetings much more interesting and informative. It should be noted also that Carl was the Ford dealer in Kendall for many years, and it has been said that he sold more lemons than the local produce dealer. He had informed us that the home he grew up in was very proper, and they were never allowed to use four-letter words. Since Carl's father was also a Ford dealer, the most serious four-letter Carl's very keen sense of humor permits this kind of banter without concern of hurt feelings. He has always been a good sport and has a great ability to laugh at himself. It is a pleasure to join with Carl and Fern's many friends in congratulating them on being named the 1995 recipient of the John and Lucille Britt Award for Excellence in Carnival Glass. I wish I could be there in person at the Heart of America Carnival Glass Convention to see this honor bestowed on two of Kendall's favorite citizens. Take care, Carl and Fern, and have a safe trip back to us. And it's signed by Michael Dwyer, Executive Vice President of the Farmers Bank. Yes. I have another one. I'm going to give you this fax, and I think when you get back to Kendall, he's going to give you the original.
You have two that takes care of the population.
Actually, Carl, I had 150 of them, but I had to throw most of them away. I picked up the two that I could read in front of this. Now we have another one here. It begins, Special Proclamation for Fern and Carl Schroeder. On behalf of all the citizens of the Carnival Glass capital of the world, also known as Kendall, Wisconsin, we proclaim this Fern and Carl Schroeder Day. In receiving the John and Lucille Britt Award for Excellence in Carnival Glass, you have shown people in the rest of the country what the people in Kendall have known for years. That is when Fern and Carl take on a project, no matter what it is, no one does it better. So therefore, on your big day, congratulations from all the people in Kendall. You certainly deserve this great honor. Richard Martin, Mayor of Kendall. P.S. Be sure to stop in my office and contribute to the Mayor's Bride Fund. So that's from your mayor, and I hope he saves the original for you also. I'll give you this fax. I had a nice visit with him. He sounds like a nice fellow. And I asked him if he could declare the Carl and Ferne Schroeder Day as a proclamation. He says, I don't know. He says, we've never proclaimed anything. He says, this would be the first time. I said, well, that's good. So here's this letter. Now I have here from, from the bank. They wanted to present Ferne with these beautiful roses. And here's a little card, so be careful that these have thorns on them, so be careful. Okay? Whoop.
That was so special.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a pleasure knowing both of you. Thank you.
As we said, we do like to have some levity, but I think that in you seeing these talks about the seriousness and the feelings that they have towards Carl and Ferne, and they have been an important part in our Carnival Glass society and in the background in the past, and I'm sure that they will continue in the future. And at this time, we'd like to have John and Lucille to make the presentation of the vase. Do it down here, Jonathan. Microphone.
I tried to get down. I said I had the opportunity to say anything bad about Carl and Ferne that I wanted to, but boy, I searched my records and I could find nothing in the bad column. And no use repeating all the good things that was said, but I would like to point out how long I was thinking maybe my first convention was the ICJ in 1971. I thought that might have been when I met these fine folks, but they told me their first convention was at Des Moines in 1973. So I guess I've been going to conventions maybe a little bit longer than you have. But 71 was our first. And is there anybody here that was at the 71 convention in Louisville, Kentucky? Great. Is there many people out there that this is their first Heart of America convention? I would like to know that. Great. Good to see you all. I remember that first convention. Boy, I tell you, I couldn't believe the things I'd seen. I'd never been in my eyes. I know these peacock and urn chop plates, which really are plates. I mean, I thought this chop plates because it seemed like they're that long, that big. But I tell you, it was great. These conventions are just great. I just don't know how anybody could miss them unless they have to be working or something. You learn so much, and it is great. But anyway, I might mention, nobody mentioned about Carl served 2 terms as president of ICJ. And one time that he was there, he invited me or asked me if I'd give him a talk or a seminar, which I was very happy to do. I might have talked too long and too much, but then anyway, I think they enjoyed having us. And I used to send my articles to Ferne when she was the editor of the ICJ. And I remember I talked with Carl, and I think he said his first convention of Heart of America was back when it was up in the
74.
74, back in the when it was up at the Black Hills. Is that what they call it? Western Hills.
Western Hills, yeah.
Was how many of you out there attended the Western Hills Convention back when Heart of America was just get started? I know there's some that was for sure. Great. And Carl has been. I like these things, and I'm sure you do too. These sort of things that you learn a lot about people. And a few years ago, had a little roast for us, and after I heard the Whitleys talk, I found out a lot about my wife that I didn't know. Syl's always had a problem with me sending me out to look at glass. She always says and tells me now, stay as long as you want to, but be sure and be back time when the program starts. And I usually don't, but she usually saves me a seat. Well, today when I come into the holly pattern, I asked anybody if they seen anybody with gray hair, a lady with gray hair, and I think Richard pointed out up on the third row. When I got up there was no seat there. So I found out later that somebody was just born to see. But I thought, boy, I was on the outs then. With that, I think maybe I've said enough, and I would do. She agrees with that. I do really congratulate you folks for receiving this award, and I really owe the club a lot for honoring us with this award. We really appreciate it, and we have tried to do a lot for it. Thank you.
Now we'll give Carl his time to rebut.
Well, I don't know whether to put this on my lip or on the coat here, but we'll try to put it on the coat. In the serious part of it, I'd like to thank my Vice President, Bob Gallo, for coming. I think it was very nice of him, and I was honored when he said he was coming. And of course, my sister and my brother-in-law were driving up from Arkansas. The rest of you, especially on my right here. When these fellows were introduced as the presenters, the only thing that came to my mind is all of you were supposedly happy to hear them. I thought, if you gave them the claps, it would be, what would be due for them to have. But I told Dick Hosteller that I would tell one Lena and Ole story just because of the occasion here. And it seems like Ole and Lars were talking together what to get their wife for her birthday. And it is a problem as we get up in our 60s and possibly in the 70s to know what to get someone that they don't already have. So Ole thought for a while, and he said, well, he'd get his wife a cemetery plot. And Lars thought that was very fitting for the occasion. So he did this, and a year later they got together, and Lars said, well, Ole, he says, what are you going to get Lena for this year? And he says, I don't think I'm going to get her anything. She didn't use what I gave her last year. I was quite concerned when I looked over and saw the presenters over here. Excuse me. That's not tears, that's something else that's running down. They all said, what did one nostril say to the other one? Should we blow or let the matter drop? So maybe that would be fitting for here too. I checked with Floyd to see if the vet was going to be here, the same man that he used last year when these furry creatures attacked his wife, but unfortunately he wasn't here, and then I looked and only 50% that I had to worry about, so I guess Ferne will survive under her natural conditions that we have. But in all seriousness, this is a great honor. I do break down. But anyhow, when they called us, and Bob Grissom was very clever in asking how to spell our names, and we've been in the roster for 21 years, I thought, boy, talk about Ole and Lena being dumb Norwegians. Well, just for his sake, I spelled them again for him, and then finally he told us what we were going to receive, and it is an honor to follow people like John and the Whitleys and so on. But it's you people that make this possible. We would not be in Carnival if it wasn't for the people that are in it. The glass is great, but it's the people that are greater. And so I like to always end up by saying the Carnival glass brought us together, but it's the friends that keep us together. Thank you very much.
Well, it is an honor for the Heart of America Carnival Glass Club to honor the Schroeders, and it is an honor to have representatives such as John and Lucille that we can truly present an award to and say it's excellence in Carnival Glass, because they do represent what we would consider excellence in Carnival Glass. We have now had their award and the award last year to Floyd and Cecil Whitley and to Carl and Ferne, and we think that it is very fitting that we have been able to honor those people, because it is truly because of them that we have excellence in Carnival Glass. And we want to thank the presenters for your comments and words. It's through people such as that we also are able to have the excellent hobby that we have and the enjoyment that we have in this. So unless there's someone else that would like to make a presentation, if you feel that there's been something left out, we'd be glad to offer you that opportunity. But if not, we do have the annual meeting that started at 2 o'clock. So we would like all of you to have this opportunity to congratulate our guests of honor, and as soon as that's over with and we can reconvene across the hall, we'll do that for the annual meeting. We'll probably start that meeting at about 2:45 over across the hall. So we thank you for coming again, and we'd like to again congratulate Ferne and Carl Schroeder.